Welcome to Holly's Pandorium, featuring your host, psychic medium Holly Jordan.
Hey everybody, I'm so glad we're back. And today I have one of my favorite special guests. This is Al Santariga. Hi Al, how are you?
Hey Holly, thank you for having me. I'm good, thank you. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing really good. I'm getting my
Awesome.
Christmas stuff put together. I've been baking like crazy, and believe it or not, my blind husband is a real candy maker.
Oh
And
wow.
so if you can imagine getting candy made by a blind guy, it doesn't look pretty. I'll just say that. It just doesn't, but they taste amazing. So I don't care what it looks like. I'm ecstatic that he tries and does stuff like that. So I'm real proud of him.
Yeah,
He's
that's
doing a
awesome.
great job. Yeah,
Who
it's
cares what
awesome.
it looks like, as long as it tastes great?
Exactly. Exactly. And that's half the fun. And he likes to try a new recipe every year. So it's always exciting to see what he comes up with. He'll go
That's very
taste
cool.
this. And it's like, okay. It's fun. It's fun. He's a character. I got a big old glare on my camera today. Okay, so Al was nice enough to kind of preempt me and send me some really interesting images and sounds, and I'm still kind of going, whoa, because some of the stuff I heard and saw, I'm blown away by. And there's so much that's gone on since we talked last. I mean, it's been months, and I know that you and your cousin have really had some serious experiences. So please, if you would, Al, just go back and tell us what's been happening with your research, or what are you finding?
Well, my cousin and I went back to the sacred site. Um, I had, I had, a, I guess, contact with a white Sasquatch called Alarak. He says he's an ancient one. He's a king shaman, and he was showing me. He was up on top of the Western Ridge, and he was waving me up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't normally, when I go to the sacred site, I don't go up the Western Ridge. I never go up there because
Right.
I know their home range is on the other side of that ridge. But he was waving me up, and I don't know why he was waving me up. And so my cousin and I decided to go back for a third time, again right after Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to go back like a couple of days after Halloween. And Cindy said the energy was going to be off the charts. And when we got there, friend of mine, Chris Reinhardt from the Sever Sasquatch. I don't know if I hooked you up with Chris. Did I hook you up
Yes.
with Chris? Okay.
Yes. Yes,
And
you did.
he said to me, he said, do me a favor when you get there, do a Geiger counter reading at the base camp, and then do a Geiger counter reading up on the ridge, see if there's any difference. And I said,
Okay.
okay, I do all kinds of readings anyway at base camp, but I don't
Right.
usually take any. I never go up on the ridge, so I never take anything up there. So Sean and I decided we were going to go up on the ridge, and we went up on the ridge. We thought it was just going to be like a ridge with a peak, and then slope down to a big valley.
Yeah.
Little did we know that when we got up to what we called the Western Ridge, the ridge went back like 200-300 yards,
Oh.
and then it dropped off like a cliff, and then it opened up into a big flat valley,
Okay.
and so
Wow.
as we were up there, we started seeing these depressions in the ground, looked
Okay.
like giant circles, but they were
Okay.
filled with leaf litter because it was after Halloween, so there was all the trees had the leaf litter on the ground, and
Sure.
we and I had gone one way, Sean had gone the other, and little did I know, as I was recorded saying, I think we've come across a Bigfoot nest.
Right.
Sean was saying the same thing at the other end,
Oh, wow.
and Sean is just getting started in the paranormal.
Yeah.
I didn't even think he knew what a Bigfoot nest was, but he sent me his videos when I was on the other side, and he was
Mhm.
talking about nest as well. So he's very sensitive, and he's in tune with a lot of the paranormal, and
Clearly.
he just knew immediately what it was. And I said, okay, we started finding them, and it was they were set up very strategically. There would be like one here, one in the front, center, one on each side, and then two behind them, but in between the two on each side. So no matter what nest you were in, you could always see who was down at the sacred site and who was coming up
Okay.
over the ridge. Very
Okay.
strategic. And some were small nests and some were humongous. I mean, humongous. And we were checking them all out. We were filming, and we went up to the top, and we filmed over into the far valley. You know, again, I was totally surprised. I thought it was going to slope down into the valley, but it was a sheer cliff drop. So, I mean, even if they were up there and they went down over the other side, over that cliff, it would take you forever to get down that cliff. It was so, there was no particular path, like a deer trail that you could have went down. There was, I don't know if the trails went all the way around and they were really long, but you would have had to use a rope to propel down that cliff. So,
oh my goodness.
yeah, it was pretty straight down. So, which again surprised the hell out of me. And, so we were up there and we were filming, and Sean found some scat, and it was really old scat. It was white, not really sure what it was. It could have been anything, to be honest with you. And then we as we were coming back down the ridge, we both started seeing shadow figures paralleling us on the ridge, like where we just came from. We would see a shadow go from tree to tree, not really sure what was following us, because we never really got a good look at it. It was always out of our peripheral vision, and it was always in a shadow form. So I don't know if it was shadow figures, if it was Sasquatches, or what it was. Cindy said that the energy was really, really high there that night, like the last few times we went, and the portal was opened. And she said, don't be surprised what you encounter tonight. Don't be surprised by anything, because anything can happen because of the way the portal was open. So as we were coming down, we had gone up the south side of the ridge, but when we came down on the north side, which had a stone wall that runs across all the way up the top of the mountain. And I don't know if you remember our last conversation where I said this thing got up and it was 10 feet tall. Yeah. It ran through the woods. Well, I thought it jumped over that wall and was taking down trees on the other side.
Okay.
We actually found it must have ran right through the wall, because the whole wall was taken down, and all the rocks were pushed north. There weren't any rocks pushed south.
Interesting.
And we looked for down trees that may have came down to destroy the wall, but the only thing on it was a skinny little 2-inch branch that couldn't have done anything. And the same thing when we were up on top of the ridge looking at those impressions. Sean says these are nests, and I said I know they're nests. I agree with you. I believe they're nests, but people are going to say these are where trees were, roots of trees, or rocks that rolled down off the mountain. And we looked for down trees. There were no down trees near any of them. There were no trees with root balls sticking up, and there were no huge boulders that had rolled down the cliff. You know what I mean? So we kind of eliminated all of that stuff. I was checking all the boxes as we were going, because I was thinking like a debunker,
Oh yeah, you have to.
Yeah. And so we were checking all those boxes. We got down to the wall. I had Sean stand next to it, and I filmed, and I sent you that little clip of Sean standing by the wall, and you can see just how the wall is totally destroyed in that one section. And if you would have looked straight across I did look straight across in the video. I did look straight across to where we had seen the creature, but it was so long, it was too big to send. So I had to edit it down to just where the wall was. So, but you could see there was a straight line for where we ran into the creature and where he ran across the sacred site, right through that wall. And just totally destroyed a 4-foot rock wall. And it wasn't even like, it was so destroyed that it was like 7, 8 feet of wall that was gone. It
Well,
wasn't just like 2 foot of wall that he ran through, you know?
and I have to say, the images that you sent me, if you allow me to, I'd like to add them in later so that
Okay.
people can see them in the comments on YouTube. These walls, you guys, are so dense. Imagine, you know, an ancient wall dividing property, stuff that you'd seen in Europe, where someone took a lot of care to make sure that they fit together. They're extremely tight and they're dense. And these are not tiny little rocks. These are bigger rocks. So the idea that anything could plow through it is kind of incredible.
Yeah, and that, like you said, that wall has got to be, I would say, 2, 3 feet thick. You know
Oh,
what
at
I mean?
least.
Yeah,
At least.
it's not like a 1 foot thick wall or 8. You know, this thing
No.
it's meant to last the ages. You know,
Right. Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually built during the American Revolution, you know, as
Right.
a wall to
Right.
sit behind, you know, and shoot from, and kind of be thick enough to stop a musket ball or something like that, you know.
Yeah. It could even be older than that. You never know.
Yeah, it could even be older than that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they're all over the woods, and a lot of people claim that they're property markers, but I've found walls that run parallel to one another that are
Right.
like 10 feet apart from each other,
Right.
which
Yeah.
makes no sense.
You're right.
Why would somebody build 2 walls 10 feet apart that parallel one another when you already have one wall there? That just doesn't make any sense. But you know, it is what it is. It's
Human
a mystery.
nature.
Yeah. When we got there,
Mhm.
the invisible helicopter showed up again. I sent you a video of
That
that.
was incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
That was incredible.
and we were sitting there, and we were just getting it. We had just got there. We were just breaking out the equipment and setting up the camp, the base camp, when we heard a dog man go off.
That was
I
crazy.
mean, he went. I wasn't quick enough with the recorder. Either was Sean, and Sean was faster than me, to get the dog man to go off.
Yeah.
He went off, and as soon as he went off, the coyotes went off.
Yeah.
And this must have been a really large pack of coyotes, because the way the woods was echoing, they must have
Yes.
been running around, because it sounded like they were all around us.
Well, it did. That's what I was going to say. The sound, just like I want to go back to the helicopter for a second.
Okay,
because
okay.
the helicopter, the thing about this, that I live in an area that's by a military base not that far away. And so, and an airport, you know, I'm right by the Portland airport. I'm only 10 miles from it. And we get helicopters regularly, is my point. And so when you hear one, you see it. You see it. Plain
Yeah.
as day. That sound is very distinct. It's unmistakable. Everybody pretty much knows that if you're an adult, you've heard a helicopter at least once. There's no way that helicopter is far away. It is so loud.
Yeah, and the
And it's
sky.
like,
If you looked at the video, the skies were clear blue.
yeah,
There weren't
exactly.
wasn't any clouds to hide by. And we have a military base up here, Stewart's Air Force Base, and we get all kinds of choppers that go from the big Hueys to the Blackhawks, and they all sound different.
Right.
And
but they're noticeable. You know, it's a helicopter.
You can tell a military helicopter from a civilian helicopter.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
They're distinctly different.
So, I mean, like I said, as soon as I heard it, I said, I'm going to film it this time. We hear it every time we come. This time, wherever it was, it wasn't close enough to move the trees or to rustle the leaves like it did the last time.
Right.
But it was definitely, as soon as we got there, it showed up. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, and that was crazy. I said, I'm getting it this time. I'm filming it. And I wanted to make sure I got it with my cell phone, because like I said, we were just starting to break out the equipment. We didn't even have our chairs set up or anything. We were just putting stuff down, the backpacks down, when everything started to break loose. The dog man goes off, and the coyotes go off, and 2 minutes later, the helicopter is above us, and it's like, oh my God, here we go again, you know?
Right. Incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible. Like I said, we seen shadows running from tree to tree, but we weren't able to get any video of it. then we settled down for a little while, and we hunkered down, and the night got really quiet. I mean, after the helicopter left, and the dog man went off, and the dog man, I would say he was about maybe a quarter mile to the east of us as the crow flies. Now the coyotes were closer. They were about the eighth of a mile away, in between us and the dog man. But they sound like, and the weird thing about the coyotes going off, I've heard coyotes go off a million times, but the weird thing about this particular time went off, they went off for a really long time.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a couple of yips or a couple of howls, and
Right.
that was it. I mean, they went off. They got low, they started again, they got low, they started again. And I'm not sure, I really haven't analyzed that audio too much, but I'm not sure. I thought I may have even heard the dog man go off in between them at one point again, you know, but when we were there and the dog man went off, it was clear as day who was going off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And once the coyotes went off and the woods started echoing and they started running around, and like I said, they went off for a long time. I didn't hear the dog man go off again. You know what I mean? Now, he could have, in between all of that chaos that the coyotes were doing. And I thought I may have heard it today when I listened to it, when I sent it to you, but I haven't really analyzed it to see if he was going off in between, and maybe that's why they continued as long as they did. I don't know. But at one point it got really, really dead. There was just nothing happening.
Right.
And it got really, really cold. And Sean was like, you know, how much longer are we going to stay? And I was like, we don't have to stay, because we weren't getting anything like we did the last two times. You know? We had the glow sticks out. We did lose a cat ball. I had put the cat balls out the last time I was there, next to the EMF meters. And when I went to pick up all the EMF meters, one of the cat balls was taken. So I didn't even notice it at the time, but when I got home and I unloaded my gear, I was missing one cat ball, and I was like, wow, they must have snuck down and took a cat ball, and I didn't even realize it, you know.
But last time you had so many creatures, Al. I'm sorry to interject, but you had so many creatures last time. I mean, it was intense. They were all over the place.
We were dealing with all kinds of stuff. But nothing went off the last time. None of the nothing screamed. There weren't any screams or anything like that. But this time the dog man went off. But so at the last time we were there, I didn't notice. I did lose a cat ball, so I did take a cat ball. And then when we went the second time we went, I noticed that the squeaky toys I left, like the dog toys, were gone as well.
Oh.
So they took the squeaky toys and they took the cat ball. And they took most of the glow sticks too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they took most of the glow sticks. What most people don't realize is that the Sasquatches can see in color. And they see color just like we do, but they also see IR light as well. So they took more, because I like to clean up when I leave.
Well, sure.
And that particular night, with all the stuff going on, I didn't really. I just wanted to get my equipment and get out of there. And I figured the next time we go, we could clean up the mess we left from. But most of I think there was like one or two glow sticks out of the 5 or 6 that we put out. Left. All the other ones were gone, and it wasn't like they blew off the rocks from the wind, because they weren't on the floor next to any of the ancient stones or anything. So they took the glow sticks, they took the cat ball, they took the squeaky toys. So at some point they came in and cleaned up, took what they wanted, you know. Maybe the glow sticks that they didn't take were colors they weren't interested in, you know what I mean? So I don't remember where it was what, but so that happened. So then we started to hike out. And we're hiking out, and we're down along the lake, and we're almost like to the same location where we had the stone thrown at us the last time, the big stone, right?
Right. I
And
remember.
we get to that location, and Sean is talking, and Sean is like, "This is where we were the last time." You know, we're reminiscing about the
Yeah.
stone. When the dog man goes off again, this time he's really close. I feel like he's right behind us.
Oh my gosh, Al.
So Sean's like, is that the dog man? I'm like, yeah, that's Sean wasn't worried at all. He
Really?
wasn't stressing anything. He wasn't like, we got to get out of here. He was like, was that the dog man again? I was like, yeah, but he's closer this time. It
Yeah,
felt
yeah,
like he was only a couple of 100 yards behind us.
yeah.
Now you got to understand, this is a 4-mile hike out.
Right,
I'm carrying a 60-pound pack.
right,
Sean's a young kid. He's 20 years old. But
right,
I usually stop every mile
right,
for a 10-minute break and a little
right.
drink, a little sip of water to
Sure.
catch my breath, because I'm 62 years old
Right,
and I'm not a young buck.
right.
That particular night, we hiked out straight out 4 miles without stopping.
Really?
And Sean was like, don't you want to stop? And I'm like, no. And he's like, why? I said, because the dog man sounded like he was way too close.
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking about was, this thing was going to run past us on the side of us,
Right,
get out in front of us, and
right.
then get into the middle of the path and stop us from getting out. Okay.
Yeah,
And I was like, once we pass, there's only 2 paths in. There's the 10-mile path, and then
right,
there's the 4-mile path. Once
right,
we pass that fork in the road, there's
right.
only one way out.
Okay.
So we passed that fork in the road. Not that I was going to 10 miles anyway.
Right.
We passed that fork in the road, and we're going. And like I said, every so often Sean would say, do you want to stop? And I was like, nope, we're going to keep going. And he's laughing hysterical. It's like, dude, I've never seen you hike this all the way out. Even on the way in, we stop, nonstop. And I was like,
Right.
yeah, I just had a bad feeling that he was going to get in front of us and block our way out. So we finally get to the mining road. Now we're maybe 2 miles from the ranger station before we get to the main road.
Right.
And we're hiking out. We got our headlamps on and we're talking. And I see yellow eyes in the woods looking at us at about the 5-foot level.
Okay.
2 big yellow eyes. So I stopped Sean. I said, Sean, let's stop. We stop, and I go, do you see? I go, what's that? He goes, those are eyes. I said, okay, we're both seeing the same thing, yellow eyes. He goes, yeah, yellow eyes. I said, well, it's probably just a deer, and as we get closer, it'll probably turn and run.
Right.
As we started to get closer, but we're still a good distance away, like 100 yards away.
Okay.
And as we starting to get closer to this thing comes out into the middle of the mining road and stops. And it just looks at us. So I stopped Sean. Now we're about 50 yards away. We still can't see what it is, but whatever this is, it's not running from us.
Yeah.
And it stopped in the. So I told Sean, pull out your machete. I'm going to pull out my machete. We may have to fight our way out of here, because I thought the dog man had flanked us. And it was the dog man in front of us. Yeah, I really did. That was my biggest fear. That's why I didn't want to stop.
Right.
I wanted to keep marching out
like a soldier. Right.
And so we're looking at this thing, and this thing is looking at us. And all we see, again, it's at the 5-foot level, and it's got these big yellow eyes, and it's looking at us. So we both pull out our machetes, and we start walking towards it. And as we're getting closer, we can see a deer shape come out,
oh my gosh.
And we can see giant antlers, and it's a big buck. But
Right.
it's not running from us. It's just looking at us. And we get like maybe 20 feet away from it, and it's just looking at us. And we both stop and we look at each other like, my cousin goes, is this normal for a deer?
No, it is not.
And I'm laughing hysterical. I go, Sean, this thing should have turned and ran a long time ago.
Exactly.
And he looks at me, and it's funny. It's funny how he does this. I don't know if he hears my thoughts or not.
Right.
I felt like this thing wanted to tell us something. I wasn't really sure if it was a deer or a shapeshifter.
See, that's
Because
what I was just going to ask. What do you think it was?
at the time, I was just telling Sean it was a deer because I didn't want to freak him out.
Well,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Because he's just a kid. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at this thing and I'm saying to myself, this thing is looking at us like it wants to talk to us, like he's got something to say. And Sean turns to me and says, is it my imagination or does this thing look like it wants to tell us something? And I looked at him and I was like, are you kidding me?
Whoa.
I just had that thought. You must be hearing my thoughts because he does this all the time, you
He's a
know?
perfect partner for you. I
He
gotta
does
say, he's perfect.
he does this all the time.
That's awesome.
And so as we start to get closer to it, I said, I think we could put the machetes away.
Yeah.
Now I'm not feeling anything negative. I'm not feeling like we're in danger. I'm just feeling like this is something that may not be a deer. Maybe it's something that's out there looking after us.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I felt like it was something good. And so it walks across the mining road and it goes into the woods on the other side. And it only goes in maybe 5 feet into the woods. And it turns and it stops and it looks at us again. Now we're walking past it.
What
and
the
we
heck?
both stopped and we're literally 5 feet away from this thing. And it's looking us in the eyes and we're looking it in the eyes and we're like, are we supposed to get some kind of telepathic communication with this thing?
Yeah.
And so the first thing I say to Sean is give me a time check.
Okay.
So we do a time check. We do a time check. And at the whole time we're looking at this thing, we're laughing. We're having a conversation like, what do you want to tell us? You know, we both feel like it wants to say something to us.
Yeah.
And it never said, I don't get any telepathic communication. He didn't get any telepathic communication. And so we just walk away. And as we walk away, it comes back out onto the mining road and it's looking at us like, wait a minute, you're not supposed to leave, you know, like when we're not finished here. And we're just laughing because we can't comprehend what the hell.
No,
Sean
it's crazy. It's crazy.
Sean is like, what do you think it is? And I go, Sean, whatever it was, I think it was there to protect us. I honestly don't think it was anything dangerous. I never got a negative energy from it or any kind of vibration. You know what I mean?
Because you would have. You would have.
And I said, what were you feeling? And he said, I felt the same thing. I think because we were both laughing. We're having a conversation, laughing at each other because we don't know what this thing wants to tell us, you know? And,
yeah.
And we're laughing. And he goes, no, I feel like you, cuz I didn't feel anything dark or negative. I didn't feel like our lives were in danger. He goes, if I would have felt that, I would have never put my machete away, you know? And I said, absolutely. I would have never told you to put the machete away if I felt like we were walking into a trap or something, you know?
Well, let me interrupt you for just a second. So I've been doing some more studying of the Fae. And so what you experienced goes right along the lines with some stuff that I've been reading from a book that Rosemary wrote.
Okay.
And so it talks a lot about the way that Fae interact with us. And one of the things they do is they use the forest when we're out in the forest to help protect us. So it would not surprise me a bit if that was Fae related.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how, but it totally sounds like it. That's what I'm saying. I would not be surprised if that was a Fae intervention to help protect you too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I when I see my cousin and we discuss it, we laugh hysterical like we did that night. Like
I bet
we're still trying to figure out what it wanted from us or what it was trying to tell us and why it was there. And we both agree we don't believe it was a big buck because because he's from the city. He doesn't really know how the animals respond up here. But I told him, I said, that's any kind, even a deer that's never seen a human before.
They know better.
Probably turn and run because we're not natural to them, you know.
Correct.
I said I don't know what this thing was. I don't believe it was a big buck. I believe it showed itself to us as a big buck.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it was. But the whole time we were in its presence, I never worried. I never, the thought of the dog man coming up behind us never crossed my mind.
So
And
that's what I want to double check. So did that feeling actually go away when you saw the book? Did you make that connection?
well, at first I thought it was the dog man, so no. But once I
Okay.
seen it was a
Okay.
buck, a big buck, you know, I was
Right.
like, and the way it was looking at us, I mean, it was just mind-boggling. It was like, I'm thinking to myself, is this an alien? You know, what is this? Is this
Right.
alien? Is it showing it? That's why I told Sean to do me a time check. He goes, why'd you want, when we get to the car, he goes, why'd you ask me to do a time check? I said, because I wasn't sure if it was an alien. And it was showing itself to us as an alien, and we were being abducted. We're the only ones out here in the middle of the night on this mining road
Right.
at a lake that UFOs come and siphon water out of, and lights, little orbs go in and out of all the time. I mean, who's to say that this was an alien coming to abduct us and just
Right.
showing us itself as a deer? And that's what I really thought at first. That's why I said, give me a time check, And
Yeah.
then
Right.
once we walked past it and we walked away from it, I looked down at my watch, and it was only like 3 minutes or 5 minutes, where it wasn't like we lost an hour of time or anything,
Okay.
So I wasn't concerned about losing time or anything like that. But
Wow.
man, it was so weird.
I'm amazed. So I actually have a photograph in my phone right now from yesterday where I live, where there were 4 deer, and they walk around where I live all the time. We're right up against 2 small lakes and small foothills, and it's very heavily wooded. We see deer regularly, and so I know, are used to seeing people periodically, but not very many people interact with them. They're not stupid. They freeze when they see us.
Yeah.
And then they watch to see what we're doing, and then they leave immediately. They don't hang around.
No.
And so, I've been around wildlife on and off throughout my life. Deer do not stay and stare. They do not. And that's the other thing I was just going to ask you. So when you looked at this book, by chance, did you happen to count how big the horns were?
I think it was an 8-pointer.
Holy crap.
Yeah, he had a big rack on his head, and it wasn't small spikes. They had big spikes. It was
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, that wasn't a baby. So that's my next question, is because if it is an older one, that the odds that it's seen a person are much higher.
Yes.
Okay. So that's another reason why that doesn't pencil out. It should have taken off quickly.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
wow,
his eyes were at the 5-foot level. His horns were over 6, and I if I had to estimate its weight, I would say it was about 250 pounds. It was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a buck that big, a 200+ pound buck,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have deer in our backyard. They come and eat all the bird food out of the bird food.
Oh, yeah.
And then they drink the water out of the bird bath.
Right, of course. So, yeah, they do that here too.
and if you tap on the window, they'll turn and they'll look at you.
Right.
But if you crack that sliding glass door, they're gone. The white tail goes up, and they're all running into the woods.
They don't mess around.
No. But
that's incredible, Al. Just that alone, that's a story all by itself.
Yeah, I don't know.
It really is.
I honestly don't know. I asked Cindy, and she said it was an elemental. That's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
And she said it was there as a guardian to keep an eye on you. That was her explanation about it, because I knew it was. I mean, I knew it wasn't a buck, because first time we seen it, it was 20 feet into the woods, and then it walked out on us and it blocked our path. Normally a buck will jump and turn and run all deep into the woods or in a different direction that you come.
Right.
The last time I seen something like that didn't move was the night the dog man was in front of me and Brian. And so that's why I figured, oh man, this thing just came out in the middle of the path and blocked our way. And this was like the biggest concern on my mind. I don't want this thing flanking me and get in front of us and
Exactly.
blocking our way out, you know?
Right. Well, you're
Yeah.
trying to protect yourself and your cousin and trying to be smart about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that was very stressful. That's why what's sticking out in my mind is the fact that you guys were able to shift from hustle to laughter.
Yeah, we were laughing. It was
So
because we
that's
both
why,
felt like it was
yeah.
trying to communicate with us. Yeah,
But I think it kind of did,
it
because
may have.
it helped you to be distracted and not think about what you were concerned with,
Yeah,
and to focus on communication with it, which took your mind away from the intensity it had been at into something much more pleasant.
yeah. Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't think my cousin was stressing at all because I don't think he realized the kind of danger we were in. You know,
probably not,
but
but he eventually he will unfortunately figure it out. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Because
intense.
we don't go looking for the dogman. We know the dogman is on the other side of the lake, and we do not go on that side of the lake. But for it, I felt like it was on the Appalachian Trail on our side, and it was right
Right.
behind. I mean, when it went off, it was so loud and so booming. And I never leave a recorder running when I'm walking out because we're walking over so much leaf litter.
A lot
It's
of
just
noise.
so much noise. You can't hear anything. I used to do it in the beginning when I first did
Right.
it, and all you heard was crunching the whole way, you
Right.
know? And
Right.
so I didn't, but it made the first one we heard sound like a whisper. And I think the only reason why it sounded like that, and I even felt like the force go through me, you
Mhm.
know? And Sean was behind me, so it went through him first and then it went through me. And I think the only reason why it felt like that is because it was so much closer at the time.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible, Al. So that's a lot to unpack. That's a lot to unpack. And then tell me about the Geiger counter. Can you explain for people listening and watching what would be the difference and what did you notice? Because the numbers you sent me images of were very different.
Yeah, well, there were the, we used the Geiger counter to um, detect portals. When the
Okay.
portal opens up, radiation level goes through the roof.
Yes.
So what we
Correct.
do is we get there and we take a Geiger counter reading, and we
Mhm.
know, and the Geiger counter will tell us if you know if the radiation is really high and we're in a dangerous spot, maybe we should
Correct.
move or not.
Right.
And but the radiation at base camp was really low. I mean, it
Right.
was safe. It was just natural ground radiation, and um, when we got up to the top of the western ridge and we tried it again, you know, it was even lower up there. And I don't know if it was lower up there because we were a higher elevation
Mhm.
and it was maybe more ground for it to come through. I don't know. But at
Mhm.
both points in time, they would never went up. You know, I like to do my rituals to change the energy in the location,
Mhm.
and then I go through all my readings. I got 250 different readings I do, and
Right.
I'll do a baseline, and then I'll do something and I'll do it again to see if it changes, and then I'll change that up. I'll do frequency, I'll do
Sure.
vibration,
Sure.
I'll do what you would call it, aroma. I'll do an aroma thing, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And I do all these different kinds of rituals, Native American ceremonies,
Mhm.
and every normally when I'm there and I do these things, the energy changes all the time
Yes.
from frequency to frequency to frequency, right?
Right.
And but that particular night, I mean, I was reading everything, all the meters were working great, everything was working great, but there wasn't, even though everything was changing,
Mhm.
there was nothing happening. You know, I wasn't bringing anything in. We weren't feeling any different kind of energy. I mean, yes, certain meters, certain readings changed where others didn't, you know what I mean? But nothing, even though the readings were changing, nothing was brought in that night. Weren't able to bring anything in, you know, and I don't know if it had anything to do with us having fire. We had fire that night. Okay.
Ah, okay.
Normally I
You
use
don't.
glow sticks for
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
ambient light, and then we have our headlamps. But I knew it was going to be cold that night, so I came up with a thing to keep us warm.
Okay.
I bought a thin pan, like a sheet pan, like aluminum
Okay.
sheet pan. I bought a
Okay.
thin one, and I bought two canteens worth of water,
Okay.
and I bought those what do you call those things that you put underneath the food to keep them warm?
Oh yeah. 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 The
Those
sterno. Sterno.
sternos. I brought the sternos. I brought 6 sternos with me that night.
Okay.
Each
Okay.
sterno was to last 4 hours. And what I did was, with some stones, I built a platform to put the pan on, filled it
Okay.
with water, and put the sternos underneath it. And
Okay.
then I just put a few rocks around it so you couldn't see the flame from the sternos anywhere in the woods. I didn't want to give our
Gotcha.
location away.
Right. Right.
But those sternos created enough steam from the water that
Yeah.
we were able to stay warm, you
Right.
know.
Okay.
And what I did was, when I was done, when we finished at the end of the night, I also bought a fire bag that you could put stuff in and it won't burn. But what I
Right.
did was I put the sternos in the fire bag so they won't, if they were hot, they wouldn't burn through the fire bag.
Oh, smart.
So
That's
I
a good
could put
idea.
so I could put the fire bag in my backpack, you know what I mean? Not
Right.
have to worry burning through,
Yeah. No kidding. Right.
yeah, or damaging any of the equipment I have in the backpack,
Right. Right.
So I mean, but eventually we ran out of water. The steam ran
Oh.
out. Yeah.
Oops.
So then we just took the pan off, and we were just using the flames from the sterno to keep warm.
Yeah.
And it really did help a lot,
Good.
considering we never I've never had fire there before, because I don't want to burn the
No.
woods. So I
Right.
wanted to be able to control the fire at every aspect of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? And not have to worry about like things flying off and ambers flying off and starting a fire. You know what
Right.
I mean?
It's
All I
very
had to
high danger there, even
all I
with
had to
rainy
all I
season.
had to do was
Yeah.
put the cap on it and seal it, and the flame was gone.
Nice.
And
Very good.
yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, every time I go out there, I freeze my butt off.
Yeah.
There's gotta be something I could bring out there
Right.
that's a controlled fire.
Right.
But I knew that it was better to use the pan, because the flames would heat up all that water and we'd get all that steam,
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of just a little flame over the sterno.
Right. Sure. Sure.
And it worked. It worked for a long time. We put 2 canteens there. Both of those canteens must hold like 3 between each one. They must hold 2 bottles, 20-ounce bottles of water. They're big
Sure.
canteens,
Sure.
and we went through all of that steam that night. And
Wow.
when the steam ran out, it was like, okay, it's time to go now,
Yes.
because
Right.
there was nothing happening anyway.
Right.
And like I said, that was the first to actually be at the sacred site and have fire. And I was trying to figure out a way to keep it safe
Right.
and have a controlled fire. And I came up with that sternos and the pan and the water and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, so when you went into the different area, you said that you had the connection with the white Sasquatch and you went to that area.
Alaric is his
Okay,
name.
so Alaric wanted you to go to that certain area.
Alaric was standing on top of the ridge and he was waving me up.
Okay.
And I was standing at the bottom going, no, because I made a deal with the Sasquatches here that I would never go up the ridge and I would never go on the other side of it.
Right. Right. And that's been that way for a while now.
Yeah, for a dozen years. And
Right.
He was like, no. And so I called Cindy and I said, what do I do? Do I go over? Do I go up the ridge? I mean, I don't want to break the deal I have with the other Sasquatches.
Right.
But if Alaric is a king shaman and he's an elder and he's ancient and all of this stuff, maybe he's the boss of the clan, And Cindy said, no, if Alaric waved you up, then he wants you to go up. You need to go up. He wants you to see what's on the other side. Like I said, I always just thought it was another slope that sloped down, that went down to the valley. but it wasn't. It was a cliff, a drop off, you know. So,
Right.
and
But
I
maybe,
thought that was the peak, and then when I got to the peak, it went like another 300 yards straight back.
well, you've told me before, Al, that you've strongly felt that the Sasquatch population has protected you from dogmen more than once. So maybe the whole purpose of him getting you to that area was to introduce you to this elemental that materialized as a deer, to show you this. If you see this again, it's for your protection. So maybe that was just an education thing to just introduce you to this elemental protection.
Yeah, I mean, we look down. I always take a little field binoculars with me, and
Right.
we look down onto to the home range, and I was looking hard. I really was. I was looking for anybody peeking out from behind a tree,
Right.
or a dark lump that looked like a rock or a stump. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I was
Right.
telling Sean what to look for, and but I didn't see anything down there. I didn't see anything whatsoever. I didn't see any movement. I didn't see anything. And so I don't even know if they were around that night, you know.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was a strange night. I never had so little happen there before, you
Right.
know. Like, yeah, we've seen the shadow figures. We found the nest. We found the stone wall that was knocked down. We got the invisible helicopter. We heard the coyotes. We heard the dogmen. We had things happening, but
Right.
it wasn't to the effect that most of the times I'm there, it's just nonstop stuff. And we actually heard the ghost train again that night as well go
Did
by.
you? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And we started laughing. And I know we had the recorders going, but I never looked at them to see if we got the ghost train, because when we got back to the car to listen to the recorders,
Right.
all the files were scrambled. They're
What do you
the
mean?
Like, there should have been, the last file should have been the file from that night,
Right.
but it was like the first file that I ever used on that recorder 10 years ago. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
bizarre.
And we were trying to find it, and it was coming up with all these crazy dates from like 2015, 2016. We couldn't find 2024, you know?
Oh, weird.
Everything was scrambled. Again, I don't know if it had anything to do with that helicopter, you know, because the
Right.
last time it said error file corrupted. This
Right.
time the files weren't corrupted. They were just scrambled.
Weird.
Weird. Yeah,
That's crazy.
you can't make this stuff up, you know.
So when you guys,
We sat in the car for an hour trying to find the files for that night.
oh, I
Yeah.
bet. I
Yeah.
bet. So when you guys found the bed area, the sleeping area, now, is that an area that you've come across before, or was that the first time you've seen all the sleeping areas?
That's the first time I found nests that looked like that.
Okay.
I found structures that had bedding inside it,
Right.
and I found nests that were different. Now, like, I didn't move the leaves to see what was underneath the leaves, because
Okay.
there was like, you know, a foot of leaves in the nest.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if there was like pine branches in there to make it soft or not, you know.
Right.
But the ones I found before, if they weren't the actual structure with bedding inside, it was
Right.
like almost like a pine nest. Like, they'll break pine branches off and they'll make a
Okay. Yeah.
circular, and
Right.
they'll just layer on top of layer, and you get like 6 to 8 inches of pine needles on, you know, little skinny branches, and it's very comfortable.
It is. Yeah.
But none of them were ever in a hole. They were
Right.
just on flat ground.
Okay.
These were holes dug in, and to me, it looked like they were very strategically placed, that no matter where you sat and which one, you had a clear view of the ridge and a clear view of the sacred site. So if anything came over the lower part of the mountain to get up to the sacred site, to the plateau, they would be able to see it, you know.
Interesting.
And I'm thinking maybe Dogman, because Dogman's on the other side.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
these were all facing east. So maybe they were keeping an eye out if the dogmen or the dogmen were coming up over the ridge to the high plateau, you know. So I don't know, but it's just this all speculation, you know.
Well, sure,
Yeah.
but it's still interesting if you look at everything that you discovered, between hearing the train, the helicopter, files being jumbled, seeing a deer act very peculiar and not a baby deer, not, an older animal by design, and just knowing that that was an elemental energy. I think a lot happened. I think that you definitely had a shift. And if the fact that you got to see where they rest, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I guess. And maybe that's what Alaric wanted me to find, you know, to have me come up the ridge, you know,
Right.
because it wasn't just one hole. There were a lot of holes all along that ridge that
Right.
overlooked the sacred site. You know what I mean? So if there was a large clan up there,
Mm-hmm.
no matter where they would be sitting, no one would be blocking anyone else's view, you
Right.
know? And some holes were small and some holes were humongous. I mean, humongous. Yeah, and you could tell how big they were. I mean, it's hard to see in the photographs, but
Right.
when you were there looking at them with your naked eye, you could see, wow, something really big can lay down in this. You know what I mean? And I was thinking, when I seen the biggest one, I was thinking, is this Alarec's hole? You know what I mean? That's
Sure.
because he's 10 feet tall and, you know, 2,000 pounds, and he's an ancient one.
Right.
Is that his nest, you know? But I don't know. But I mean, it was just crazy. Yeah, no, it wasn't a very it was a mellow night as nights go there, but the stuff that happened was really, really crazy.
Yeah. But that's still incredible. So you also sent me some stuff on UFOs. So what is that from?
Okay. One night, my wife goes to sit down on the couch and she looks out the front window and she sees this yellowish looking triangle thing up in the sky.
Okay.
And she's like, what the hell is that? And I look at it and I was like, it's got to be Venus, because Venus is the only planet you could always see Venus, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So she goes, I don't know. It doesn't look high enough to be a planet. And I said, well, let me go outside. I have my star app that I use when I do my sky watches with my telescope.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, you put the app on and then you point it to the sky and it'll tell you what stars are in that particular area of the sky. It'll tell you if you can go and click on all the planets and it'll tell you where they line up in the sky that night. So I'm looking south, and I put up the star map and I look and I go the first thing I go to is Venus, and I hit Venus, and it has a compass, and Venus is nowhere to be found. And I go through all of the planets, and none of them line up with this thing is lining up, and none of the constellations are lining up with this thing either. And I'm thinking, well, I honestly don't know what this is.
Right.
So the little voice in my head says, maybe you should film this. So I start filming it with my phone.
Right.
I'm filming it, and after a few minutes of filming, I take it down and I look at it. And when I enlarge the video to look at it, what looked like a triangle in the sky looked like a circle, like a circular craft.
Okay.
With lights going around, different color lights going around in a circle, and it's moving all over the sky. And I'm thinking, what? To me, it reminded me of, I know this is stupid, but this is, it reminded me of a germ underneath a microscope.
That's what you said. And that
was weird looking. It was weird looking.
But that makes sense, though, because that explains the motion and that explains visually what you're looking at, because it's familiar. It's a familiar sight. Yeah, yeah.
I had just done the Western Connecticut UFO conference in October at the Danbury Library with Mark D'Antonio. Okay. And Mark's a MUFON guy, and Mark's got a lot of high top secret clearance with the Navy. He does a lot of stuff with the Navy. And that night I went on before him, and that night he was explaining how the propulsion system works in these crafts, the anti-gravity propulsion system. And he says, as it spins around the craft, it changes colors. And I'm looking at this thing, once I pinch it and make it bigger,
Right.
it
Yeah.
looks exactly like what Mark was talking about.
Okay.
So I was like, this is crazy. That was the that was Friday night. And I had all my gear packed in my car because Saturday was the Bigfoot expedition. So
Right.
I didn't have my camera or my night vision
Oh my
goggles
God.
or nothing. Everything was in the car. So I was working with my phone. So
Right.
now for the rest of the week, I'm looking outside every night. I don't see it. I don't see it. It hasn't been around all week.
Right.
The following week, that was a Thursday. No, that was a Friday. The following week, and I know all of these videos look like they're the same craft, but they're weeks apart. The following week, it showed up again, but not on a Friday. It showed up on a Thursday.
Okay.
And the crazy thing about it is, all week I'm looking for it, and it's not there. The minute I go out to throw something in the recyclables or get the mail out of the mailbox and I look up, it's there. Always when I'm not looking for it, it's there.
Right.
So I film it again. The second time though, I ran inside and got my tactical flashlight.
Okay.
And I did a Morse code with it, with the
Okay.
flashlight.
Okay.
And it started to come in. It started coming in. So
Okay.
I put the flashlight down to pick up the camera to film again. And the minute I picked up the camera, it stopped and it backed off.
So what did you say in Morse code?
I was just doing an SOS.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask, because that's what I was thinking, to do an SOS to get him closer.
I was just doing an SOS.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
And it stopped and it went back. And again, I filmed it. And again, after I finished filming it, I pinched it, I enlarged it, and it looked exactly like the first craft that was there the week before. Okay. Third week rolls around. It's not Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. Third week it came back on a Wednesday. Now I got my 4K camera ready. I got it on a tripod. I'm ready for this thing. I zoom in with my camera. I film it with my 4K camera. I break out my night vision goggles, which also films. It does video in 4K. It has sound. It does color. It does infrared, night vision. It's got IR, UV. And it's got a green screen, and I filmed this thing in all different spectrums of light.
Smart.
Okay, with my night vision goggles, and I put them down, and I take my phone and I film it again with my phone. Now I haven't taken any of those chips out of anything to look at them because I just got a really, really high-end computer for Christmas.
Nice.
And when I get that set up, I'm going to put everything in there and take a look at it, Yeah.
Congratulations.
It was expensive and everybody chipped in for me, so I got a really nice computer instead of all the crappy ones I've always had. And
it's time, Al. You were due.
And I thought the last one, the HP laptop I got was good, but the processor in it was horrible, just horrible. So I mean, my old one that's 20 years old works better than my HP. But,
I get it. I get it.
So the new one is a Samsung.
Nice.
And, so anyway, I'm filming with the phone. And again, after I finish filming, I pinch it to enlarge it, and it's the same craft. I was like, okay.
Nice.
So now, again, I film it for a minute or two. I don't do anything with the flashlight that night. And I film it for a minute or two, and I go in. It was really, really cold. I wasn't going to stay out there all night. Right. And then a week later, I'm looking for it all week. It's nowhere to be found. And this is always happening between 6 and 7 o'clock at night every time I see him.
Okay.
So now I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. I leave to go to work at 4:30 in the morning. 4:30 in the morning, I get up. I'm walking out the front door. I got the car running in the driveway to warm up because it's cold. And I'm looking down and I'm still half asleep. And the little voice in my head says, look up. And I look up and there it is. Now I'm really tired. And I go, how you doing? I just waved to him and go, how you doing? You know, I wasn't
Right.
even going to film because I was
Right.
just so damn tired.
Right.
And the voice says, no, you should film this.
Ah,
This is important. So I start filming.
okay.
As I'm filming this thing, and this is the one that really blew me away. This thing is moving around and it's moving around like it always does. It's
Right.
moving around the sky, but it starts to drop down towards me.
Okay.
And looking at it through the phone, filming through the phone, it looked like it flashed me. And I was like,
Oh,
whoa, wait a minute. This thing just signaled me, you know?
right. Yeah.
So I give a little wave. I stop the filming and I rewind it and I'm watching it. And when I enlarge it, it's not an actual flash. The craft expands like 10 times its size.
Oh.
And then it retracts back to its normal size. And then it just starts to climb up into the sky. And I was like, holy crap. I've never seen anything like that. We've had contact before.
Yeah.
Where
That's different.
Where a craft has signaled us when we did a few CE5s.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
never anything I seen by myself in the Hudson Valley. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've seen a million different kinds of crafts up here over
Right.
the last 30 years. Nothing has ever signaled me. This thing signaled me. All right. So
That's really something.
So then he comes back a fifth time. And I tell my wife, come outside. I said, I have these high-powered binoculars I use for the rifle range. When
Right,
I'm
yeah.
shooting like 300 yards, I can't see where the bullet lands.
Right.
So I give the binoculars to my wife, and I say, tell me what you see. And she looks at it, and she says, because when you look at it with the naked eye, it looks like a yellow triangle, okay?
Okay.
She looks at it and she says, it looks like a squid with tentacles hanging down. So I go, give me those damn binoculars. What are you talking about, right?
Right.
So I pull up the binoculars. Now I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
But the tentacles aren't hanging down like this. Now they're facing this way. They're
Sideways.
Sideways.
Okay.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I'm looking at it. I'm not filming anything. We're just looking at it through the binoculars.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're looking at it. And I said, let me get my flashlight. And I go get my flashlight. And I start doing a Morse code again with it. But this time I leave the flashlight on it for like 10 minutes straight. I just let that code go.
Okay.
And this thing is sitting in the sky and we're looking at it. And she goes inside because it's really cold. Again, it's like 7 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And I'm not filming this time because I want to get it to come in. And I'm gonna let this SOS go for as long as I have to, even if the batteries die, because I want this thing to come in.
Right.
And as it's starting to come in, I don't know what happens. I don't know if it went invisible and moved out of the way, or if it shot up in the sky, or if it had zipped over my head. But 1 minute it's there coming towards me, and the next minute there's a Cessna plane coming through, and it's got the green light, and it's got the blue light and the red light, and it's got a white light on the tail, and you can hear the propellers going, you know.
Sure.
But the whole time the Cessna was going through, I kept the SOS on it.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking, is this showing me itself as a plane?
Right.
And it's really the UFO? Or did the UFO move out of the way and the plane came right out from behind it? Because I didn't see that plane the whole time I was looking in the sky until it appeared like right over me, you know? And so I kept the SOS on it, and it flew over my house and it went north and everything. And then the craft was gone. It never came back.
Okay.
And I'm sitting in the house and I'm waiting. I said, at some point tonight, either the sheriff is going to knock on the door, or the state police, because I had this SOS pointed at this plane for like 5 minutes straight.
Right. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no way he couldn't have seen it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I thought maybe they would radio down and say, "Hey, look, I'm over this location. Someone signaled me with an SOS. Maybe you should go check it out."
Yeah.
But whoever the pilot was, maybe he didn't know what an SOS was, because
Maybe not. Yeah.
nobody ever came to the house. Nobody ever knocked on the door,
Right.
So that was weird. I don't know where it went. I don't know if, like I said, it just disappeared. And when it disappeared, the plane was there. Like, it was gone and the plane was there. And I don't know if it just moved out of the way of the plane or what, but it was absolutely insane.
That's
And
incredible.
so I put the one that flashed, I put them
Mhm.
all on the BPS page on Facebook.
Okay.
And Paranormal Caught on Camera reached out to me about it. And they said, we like this video. We're gonna analyze it, and we'll get back to you and if we decide to pick it, would you mind coming on, TV and discussing it? And
That'd be cool. That'd be
absolutely
great.
not. If you wanna put it on there, I mean, I was so blown away by when you see it, when you watch it, make
Yeah.
sure you enlarge the last one as big as possible, because you're gonna see this thing like this. It's gonna go boom, and then it's gonna shrink right back down. But when I seen it in real time, it just looked like a flash. But when I watch it on the video, it actually expands and then retracts. Absolutely crazy. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That just blew my mind, because to me, that was pure communication.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
But I've never heard of anything doing that before, so I'm fascinated with that. That's incredible.
Yeah, I've only seen it one or two other times when we've done CE5s and brought them in.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I would do like a Morse code with the flashlight, and it would do it back.
Mhm.
But never one-on-one, just me and this thing. And now this thing hasn't been around since that day. Now it's
Okay.
gone, so
Right.
I don't know what's going on. So then a couple of nights ago, my work schedule had changed. I was working Monday through Wednesday. Now I'm only working Monday and Saturdays.
Okay.
So up here we have a hotel. It's called the Shanley Hotel. It's up in the Catskills. It's a haunted hotel. I've been there many, many times with my cousin Sean. We've had entities run right through both of us, all kinds of stuff, and haven't been there in 6 months. They wanted me to come up and do a Dogman presentation, but I couldn't, because their meetings are on Mondays and I was working Tuesdays.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had to get up at 4:00 in the morning on Tuesday. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no,
So
that'd be
now that my schedule has changed, I can actually do it. So I called the guy who runs the meeting and I said, "Hey, listen, you guys having a Christmas party? I want to come up and say hello to everybody. I haven't seen anybody in 6 months." And he's like, yeah. Come on up, Al. Everybody misses you, And I was like, sure. So that night I get off the phone with Bill, who's the name of the guy who runs it. And I get a frequency that goes through my head. Now, normally when I get a frequency, it's either in one ear or the other.
Right.
And usually when that happens, I have like a UFO encounter. But this went right through my head. You know what I mean? Went right through both ears. And I thought to myself, wow, that's pretty weird. I've never experienced that. But it was a high frequency, but it was at a very low volume.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. It was very, very weird. So then that night I go to bed. And I got one cat sleeping between me and my wife, and I got another cat on the floor. It sleeps next to me on the floor. And my left arm is hanging off the bed. And you know how cats are, you touch them and the tail goes straight up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm playing with the cat's tail.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I feel two humongous hands. But one hand the size of both of mine. But two of them grab my ankles and pull my ankles down. So I'm thinking, what the hell is that? What has hands that big? I'm thinking, is there a Sasquatch in my room?
Yeah, no kidding. What the heck?
So I'm looking, and I can see pretty good. My night vision is okay because I've been sleeping, so I can see pretty good. The room is dark. My wife's got to have it absolutely pitch black. There can't be any kind of light coming in. Otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
she can't sleep. So it's pitch black.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking, and I noticed that once these hands grabbed my ankles, I started to get sleep paralysis. The
Oh,
paralysis started
shoot.
going up my legs, up my body. My whole body had sleep paralysis except my left hand that was off the
Oh,
bed touching the cat.
okay.
Okay. So I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I don't see anything in the room. And then I look up in the far corner to the left, and I see these two yellow glowing eyes looking
Yikes.
at me. And they're
Yeah.
really, really creepy looking eyes. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? And
Okay.
I'm thinking, what the hell is that? And I'm
Okay.
thinking to myself, am I dreaming? Or am I awake?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is holding me down? I don't see anything. Why do I
Mm-hmm.
have, why is my, and I got all these questions. I'm questioning myself with all of the stuff I'm saying.
We do that. Yeah,
Why
we
is my
do
whole
that.
body in paralysis except for my left arm that's touching the cat, you know? And then I start thinking, is this alien or is this evil? You know, because I had that frequency that went through my head, but the cats didn't run, you know, they weren't scared. But whatever this thing was not nice. And then it
Right.
turned into a skeleton head, but it was like a yellow electric, and it had a big grin from like ear to ear. Like
Creepy.
the mouth was too big for the head, yeah.
Right.
And then the eyes blinked, and it went through the wall. And the minute it went through the wall, I felt the pressure get off my ankles and everything, like the paralysis, leave. So I sat up, and I'm looking around. I get my flashlight. I'm looking all over the place. I'm like, what the hell was that? You know? So I call Cindy the next day, and I was like, you're not going to believe what happened to me. And the first thing she says to me is, where are you going? I go, what do you mean? She goes, you're going somewhere, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, where are you going? I said, I'm going to the Shanley. She goes, Al, you know, I hate that Shanley Hotel. I absolutely hate it. It's got evil in it, and I don't want you going there. And I know you and Sean go there all the time, and you guys are okay because you're pretty, you know, you both are connected, you know, like sensitive wise, but I really don't like you going there because I'm supposed to go there with Chris, and we're supposed to sleep there and do a video, you know?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Chris is doing a documentary called Monsters in America, and he
Okay.
wants to go there and film there.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean wants to come too. He wants to sleep over. He's dying to sleep there. And so I says, was that alien or evil? And she says, it's evil. And
Yeah.
it's got to do with the Shanley. And I don't want you going this month. She goes, I don't care if you go in January, but I don't want you going this month. I was like, okay. So I called my friend Bill, who's running the party, and I said, yeah, I'm not going to make it. And I told him why. And I said, maybe you should mention it to everybody who's coming. They could bring a little extra protection because I don't want people walking into something that's waiting for me and then there's attaching to someone else.
Right. Yeah, that's not cool.
So I posted it on my BPS page. And one of the girls who works there, Stephanie, she's a good friend of mine. She works at the Pine Bush UFO Museum as well. She called me and she says, Al, what the hell did you see? You know? And I was like, Steph, you know, I explained to her what I seen. And she goes, oh my God. I go, why? What's the matter? She goes, there's a room upstairs on the top floor of the hotel that's got a portal in it. And people are always saying they see yellow eyes looking out of the portal at them. And
That's not
I
good.
go, there you go. That's, you just validated what I seen. You know,
Yeah.
I had no clue that there was, I knew there was portals in the building, but I never heard anything about the yellow eyes. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And so I didn't know that there was yellow. And she said, yep, there's the evil yellow eyes that look out at people from the darkness of the portal. And I was like, okay, well, maybe, you know, he was looking forward to me coming there.
Right.
I said, well, I'll see you in January because I'm not coming for the
Right.
Christmas party, you know?
Right.
So as I was telling you this morning, I had 2 white candles burning in the room today, you know,
Heck yeah.
all day. Yeah. So, but yeah, crazy stuff, man.
That's crazy. That's
my
amazing.
life. It's just
Yeah,
my life.
it's an adventure. I can relate. We have unusual things happen at our house all the time. So I'll tell you a cute thing that we're going to be doing here this weekend. So we had in my seances I do on Sunday nights. This married couple came to visit us early this year. I think it was in February. and they said they wanted to renew their vows.
Right.
And they wanted me to do their vows. And so in my human brain, I panicked and thought, wait, I'm not ordained. I can't do a wedding. I have no authority to do that. And so I spent months trying to figure out how was I going to do this and how was I going to figure things out for them. And they just were very patient and quiet and waited for me to figure out that it really didn't matter because they're not in physical form. So it was all on a spiritual level. It was all in a ghost format.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't have to be ordained. I was fine. And so what's really cool is they're very laid back. They come and show up at the seance fairly regularly, and they just sit on our couch and pet the dog. They're just this lovely older couple. And I asked them, what can we do for you to help celebrate? And they said they wanted me to remake their wedding cake. So they showed me this image of a cake with a really large bottom and a smaller top, and it had real roses shoved in it.
Oh, wow.
And some other flowers. And so they're from the 20s, 30s era.
Okay.
And so I said, what about a cake topper? And they laughed. And the husband said, don't put one of those tuxedo guys on there. He said, I never wore one my entire life. And he said, but if you can find one with overalls, that's what I wore, I would be okay with that. And so I haven't found one with overalls. So it's probably going to be more like what they originally had. But they're so sweet and they're so nice. And so next Sunday, we're going to be doing a little ceremony for them. And I'm going to record it. I haven't published any of my seances yet. But that was one of the most unusual requests that I've gotten. And I just love it because they want to renew their vows. They haven't decided to cross over yet. They're just hanging out.
Oh, that's crazy.
And they're delightful. They're very sweet. They've been together for a long time and they're not ready to go anywhere else yet. They just like hanging out.
That's awesome. That is absolutely
But what a cool thing, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. That's very cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Absolutely.
But
are you gonna make the cake?
Oh heck yeah.
Oh,
I got the cake because I wanted to do it as close to what they asked me to do as I can. And so I went to Safeway last night and was checking out the flowers because they even showed me the colors. And I found these ones that I didn't know I would find. They're a pale pink with a green edge.
Okay.
They had some at Safeway last night. And I was so happy because I thought, because they're older style. They look like they came out of somebody's yard.
Right.
Because they're not perfect. They look more naturally grown, not formally grown. So so that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend.
That is awesome.
Isn't that fun?
That is absolutely awesome.
I'm excited. I'm sending out the list of the gifts to the grandkids and the cookies that are going out, and then we're doing the wedding.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Yes, that is so cool.
Yeah. Well, most of the stuff that Ghost asked me are pretty basic, so that was a little more unusual, but I go with the flow. If they want something like that,
they've probably been watching you for a while, and they've said, "This, if anybody can do it, it's her. So let's ask her." Well,
yeah, they actually, several ghosts lately have asked me why there's not more people doing seances like I do, and I tell them they're coming because there will be more people that will do them. Because at the turn of the century, after the Civil War, there was a bunch of people that did seances.
Oh my God, everybody did seances.
They were everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere, yeah.
And some not too well.
Families, yeah.
Yes, but they were really common, and they're not so much anymore. But I mean, I've got this will be my 8th year of doing this.
Oh wow!
And so we started out just audio recordings, and I need to go through them. Doug keeps telling me you got to go through these things, and listen to them. Well, because sometimes they tell me I hear other things. It's not just about ghosts.
Right.
Sometimes I hear about weather, or they tell me stuff. It's just fun.
Okay. Well, whatever they want to tell you, absolutely.
Right.
You're just a radar antenna picking everything up.
I absolutely am.
My family, when I was a kid, used to do seances, never any, I don't ever remember using a Ouija board, but tarot cards and stuff like that. And I remember the candelabras, the flames on the candles going up and down and just dancing. I love it. And me and my cousins hiding in the shadows because we were supposed to be in bed, hiding in the shadows, watching it, going, holy crap, look at
Right.
that. That's
Right?
insane. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
crazy. Yeah, we always used to do the thing with the cards to try to see if we got an ESP, to see if
Oh,
we
yeah?
could read the cards and everything, you know.
That's so
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
That is so fun.
yeah.
Well, Al, this has been a blast. I always
Thank
love
you.
chatting with you. You
Yeah,
have
me
so much
too.
good information. And I am going to add those pictures in on YouTube. And then I'm going to actually make a section for just Al videos because you have so much information in your videos. And I want to add some links for people to
Okay.
find some of your other stories.
Okay.
So I'll talk to Kat and get some of her stuff from you and see if we can get a collection going.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
whatever you could do. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
You know,
that'd
I
be
mean,
great.
thank you. I appreciate it.
I love it. Well, you have great stories and you're an excellent storyteller, so it makes it even more fun.
Yeah, because when I was telling somebody the other last week or something, I was like, when I tell the stories, I relive them because I'm in the
Yeah.
moment, you know,
Yes.
and I'm
Right.
like living moment for moment, reliving what I was experiencing at the time, you know, and
Absolutely.
that's the way it comes. That's just the way it comes out, you know.
Yeah.
So
Heck yeah.
yeah.
It's incredible. Well, thank you, Al.
Well,
It's so good to see you.
now,
And
pleasure was all mine. Thank you for
thank you
having
so
me.
much.
It was great. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you to all the listeners and viewers. And if you would please hit the like button for me. I know it doesn't seem like much, but it really helps. And Al, we'll be talking again soon. We'll set up another date for your next update.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, Holly.
watching. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we'll see you again soon.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to Holly's Pandorium. If you have stories to share, you can find me on hollyspandorium.com, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also listen on Spotify and our wonderful Metal Cross Radio at radioking.com. Thanks again for listening.